So they kidnap a bunch of wrong girls. They finally do. So Daisy and Luigi's date and double date with Mario and Daniela ends, and Daisy and Luigi go on this very cute little outing to the excavation site because that's where you go where you want to get smooched is over some dinosaur bones.
Listen, Leyla, I'm going to make a call about you. I think if somebody took you to a date where there were bones involved, there is like an 80% chance you'd be into it. I'd rip their clothes off
with my teeth, yeah.
Welcome to Mortified, the Friendship Quest, a podcast where two long-distance friends bounce media recommendations, all in hopes the other will like it. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Leyla, and he's Aaron Leyla.
And this week, we optimize our SEO with the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Movie. Before we rehydrate our fungus, Dad, please remember you can help us on Mortified the Legitimacy Quest by subscribing to us on YouTube, iTunes, or Spotify, signing up for a monthly newsletter through the link in our show notes, or following us on Twitter and Tumblr at MortifiedPod. Leyla.
Aaron.
You ever heard of this Mario guy?
Yeah, it's me.
That's right, listeners. All along, the final secret of Leyla is revealed. Layla's been Mario the whole time. Yeah, no, I mean, right, the Chris Pratt, Illumination Mario movie has recently been released, and by all accounts, it seems like a perfectly fine kids film, and I'm happy for all those folks. But we figured, like a lot of podcasters, why not cover the Super Mario Brothers movie from 1993? Because it seems like, that was one of the things. We like to talk about video games here. We like to talk about bad movies occasionally. And, we figured this would be a good crossover. Leyla, what did you heard about this movie before we watched it today?
So I did hear it was clinically insane. Every screenshot I've seen makes no sense. I've heard out of context tidbits about it here and there. President Koopa being a person, the dinosaurs thing is all nuts, right? What I didn't realize was that watching all of it in context would delight and surprise me.
So here's the thing. Yeah, I watched this movie once before with my roommate in college, and I had no memory of it because it seemed like it was bad. And I watched it again today, and I was a little bit higher on it, but my ultimate takeaway was I wish it was a 70-minute movie max. I could
have watched another 2.5 hours of it.
All right, we'll talk about that because I truly don't know where to begin. I didn't even write down a plot summary because there's so much just completely bananas shit going on. Do we want to try to muddle our way through the plot?
Yeah, so it starts with the most just poetic intro I think I've ever heard in my life.
The opening line's very good. It
does start with the fact that 65 million years ago in Cretaceous Brooklyn, New York, a meteorite hit the Earth and destroyed all the specifically Brooklyn dinosaurs.
Right.
I think that there's obviously a real meteor that destroyed all of them, but this one was Brooklyn specific.
Well, the first line of the film is, a long, long time ago, the Earth was ruled by dinosaurs. They were big, so not a lot of people went around hassling them. Which I think is a pretty good way to set the tone for the film. But yeah, it's a very New York centric film in many ways.
I want to play this movie in front of a focus group of New York plumbers. Because what this movie also sets up is that when someone in town has a plumbing emergency, all of the plumbers get a call and they must race, and it's a first come, first serve kind of deal.
Right. Even first we get that set up when they are trying to they get called to a job. The Mario brothers, both Mario and Luigi. Mario is kind of the older brother who's kind of more responsible. Luigi's a bit of a dreamer who watches a bunch of weird, kind of like Mad TV style, or closer to maybe the Twilight Zone,
or that Fact or Fiction show.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm thinking of. But he's a little bit of an airhead. But they get called to, a job. They don't have very much money, right? They're freelance plumbers. And, when they're there, they're like, oh, man, Scapelli's boys beat us to it. And then, like, later on, when Daisy is, like, trying to use the phone, he, like, hangs up on somebody who is yelling, send all the plumbers you got, every single one of them, the whole fucking aquarium's flooding or some shit. I don't remember, but, like, the world building of this film is astonishing and sets up some incredible precedents, when we'll talk about that. But the fact that, like, there is just, like, a tooth and nail freelance plumbing industry in Brooklyn, New York in the year 1993 is pretty wild.
Yeah. God. So they, simultaneously to all this happening, there is a university excavation for dinosaur bones in Brooklyn, and Daisy,
right, not Peach.
No, there's no Peach in this movie.
Nope.
Which, you know what? Bold choice. I'm into it. Mm-hmm. Daisy is the student in charge of this whole thing, and she's getting literally threatened by Scapelli.
By mobsters, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Italian mobsters, like it's just straight up the mafia. She could be a graduate student. I guess we haven't really specified that, but we know that she was an orphan. She was raised by nuns, and she always wears this like meteorite around her necklace. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like, so I guess it is very fun to imagine a world in which, a construction project's like, oh, there's bones here. I guess we have to just let the local university's anthropology department impede our progress. And that becomes like a big issue in the first act of the film, which doesn't really come up until like the very, very end of the movie. But it does give a reason for Daisy to meet Luigi, I guess. But it's such a weird premise.
It does, because Daisy needs to use a phone and Luigi lets her use the phone while Mario is fixing their van. And then they flirt very awkwardly, and I thought it was very cute. Because, listen, these aren't real characters. I wasn't expecting anything richer from them.
No, but it's a style of, like, 90s, filmmaking or the kinds of, like, beats. Like, it wouldn't look out of place in, like, I want to say Boy Meets World, right?
Right.
I've never seen an episode of Boy Meets World, but it gives me the vibes, right? Where it's just like, oh, there's a pretty girl. I got to stare at her for 10 seconds without speaking and then be like, would you like to take the phone, right? Like, that's just kind of how romance was delivered to audiences in that era, especially younger audiences, right? I don't actually know who the audience of this movie is.
It's me.
Yes, Leyla Mammadova, 30 years later after the movie comes out. But like, I thought some of the beats were like, I don't like the way that they're doing this, right? This comes back again with like the way that Koopa treats Daisy. Like that's a thing that wouldn't have been out of place, 30 years ago. But today I'm just kind of like, oh, I wish they had made a different choice.
Sorry, I must look something up immediately.
Okay.
Okay. There was a non-zero chance that this movie came out on my birthday, and regrettably it did not. It is 6 months older than I am, but that's okay.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. It's fine. I just wanted that like deep soul connection with it,
Right.
But it's okay. Year is close enough. So they awkwardly flirt and they go to dinner. So it's Luigi and Daisy, and then Mario and his girlfriend Daniela, who's just like some Brooklynite, which is very funny. Daniela's great. I think she does a great job of what she's supposed to be there for, just like Mario's hot girlfriend. Hot girlfriend. By the way, he drinks Respect Women juice. He treats her very, very well. They seem very in love. She has a Fran Drescher energy. I'm like very into.
Yes, no, very, very much giving Fran Drescher. There's a bit like at the end of the movie where for Daisy's like, oh, Mario, what about Daniela? And he's like, oh shit, I was gonna take her to WrestleMania, I completely forgot. And then she's like, no, she's been captured, she's here too. And Mario's like, oh, okay. But like, I love the idea that Mario is more concerned about missing WrestleMania.
I love the WrestleMania name drop so much. Yeah, so, but the reason Daniela gets kidnapped is because while all this is happening, there is an epidemic of missing girls in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. And what's happening is, that my two favorite characters, Iggy and Spike Koopa, are just so clinically stupid that they can't tell who Daisy is and who just like random women in Brooklyn are. So they keep kidnapping the wrong girl.
We see all of the kidnapped women at one point in the movie. None of them look alike.
Not for a second.
Yeah, I mean, like, several of them are different, like, races and ethnicities. It's like, wait, what, bro, what are you? I guess they're lizards, right? And the fact of the matter is that they're lizard racists. They're like, all humans look alike. All those fucking mammals, they all look the same.
Yeah, they're mammalists. It's fantastic.
Right, exactly.
So they kidnap a bunch of wrong girls. They finally do. So Daisy and Luigi's date and double date with Mario and Daniela ends, and Daisy and Luigi go on this very cute little outing to the excavation site because that's where you go where you want to get smooched is over some dinosaur bones.
Listen, Leyla, I'm going to make a call about you. I think if somebody took you to a date where there were bones involved, there is like an 80% chance you'd be into it. I'd rip their clothes off
with my teeth, yeah.
Yeah, right.
I'm not making fun of it. I'm just calling it out for the charming moment it is.
It's very silly. I think if there was less going into tunnels and pipes, it would have been sexier. But it was fun. It was cute. They have a very good. I think you're right. I think the romance is very silly. But if you take what it's going for, I think they do have a very much like two young kids who are doing this love thing for the first time, and they're cute.
They are cute. See, they're adorable. I'm into it. So
this is John Leguizamo, who I don't know if you've been on the internet recently, but he is not thrilled about the new Mario movie because he thinks it's anti-Italian, that Chris Pratt and I think it's Charlie Day who plays Luigi, but they're not Italians, and he thinks it's racist against Italians, which Mr. Leguizamo, I bet there was a time in your life where people were mean to you because you were Italian, but welcome to the future.
I would have actually hated that more if I hadn't watched this extremely pro-Italian movie. Because if I was John Leguizamo and I had the context of being Luigi in 1993's Super Mario Brothers, I too would think this new one was some kind of ist. It makes more sense with that. Like, if your only context for Mario was the fucking Italian-American icon, would you not also think that they were taking something away from you if that was your only context?
I guess that's fair. All right, Mr. Leguizamo, we'll let you off this time.
Only because it's funny. Only because it's funny. So, finally, Iggy and Spike find the right girl, and they do, they start, the Luigi uses his, plumber superpowers to stop the fucking excavation site from flooding, because, again, the Scapelli's trying to sabotage it. And at some point, Iggy and Spike Koopa show up, and they take Daisy.
There's more plumbing in this movie than in the entire Mario series combined, which kind of rules. There's a bunch of unnecessary references. They kind of try to get a lot of references to the Mario video games, which Mario had come out on home consoles in '85 at this point, so only 8 years of Mario video games, but they do try to stick to the source material in an impressively for a live action film. They really do commit to the bit, but this is kind of a misstep, I think, which is they really aren't plumbers. I swear.
Apparently in the new one they're also canonically just plumbers.
Okay, you know what, that one's an isekai though, so I don't know what's going on. Whatever, it's fine.
Oh my god, I forgot. Anyway, okay, so Daisy gets kidnapped, and Luigi and Mario follow her, and she goes through a wall, and they're like, what the fuck? And Luigi, being the romantic kind of believer and all this weird shit that he is, he's like, Mario, I believe. Do you believe? And then he jumps through the fucking wall. And you know what? King shit.
Listen, it's really good. They didn't do the thing that I think, maybe a cornier movie would have done, which is he just slams his face into the wall and falls over, which I would have laughed at. But they are trying to genuinely set up Luigi's character and introduce you to this alternate Brooklyn. What is the name of this? Because it's not New Donk City, right? It's not Koopa Kingdom. I don't know if there's a name for the alternate Brooklyn.
I don't know. All I know is that they get mugged by an old lady the moment they fucking set foot.
Oh yeah, no, there's just she's like, oh, do you have any weapons? It's very dangerous around here. And they're like, oh no, we're not. And then she's like, all right, she gets a stun gun out, but it looks like a stun gun mounted to a jackhammer.
It's so much.
It's great.
Yeah.
She tases them immediately.
You know what? Welcome to, New Dog City or whatever the fuck it's called. They start looking around for Daisy, and obviously they're in disbelief. They're in this parallel dimension, which, by the way, was set up because on the radio show that Luigi was listening to, or the show he was watching or whatever, they did talk about some guy who had gone to a parallel dimension. For the fact that this movie's internal logic is bonkers, it is consistent.
Right, this is the thing about the fungus, right? All of that makes sense, right? When you look back at how the fungus affects the course of the film, their setups and payoffs are accurate. Like, this is, for all the criticisms I have of this movie, it is sound, right? From a logic, like a writing perspective. Like, I'm rewriting a book that I'm trying to write now, and I'm having a hell of a time getting my plot beats in the right order, and like, it does make me respect, like, basically anybody, even, people who had this, did this difficult movie that didn't go very well. It makes me respect people who actually do take the time to set up and pay off their plot beats.
The logic is sound. I think the costuming's really good. The fucking, the cinematography's good. Like, it's a solid movie. It's just weird.
Yes. It is weird.
It's well crafted. It's just strange. God, I don't even know how this happens, but at some point or another, Mario and Luigi end up at this fucking bar, wherein they get beat up by the bouncer? Is that what happens? Because yes. Mario and Luigi have Daisy's necklace, and she robs them of it.
Yes, Bertha takes the necklace from them and disappears for like an hour. She comes back later at the end of the movie and becomes plot important, but here she does just like steals them, activates her jetpack boots, flies away, and then they get arrested. Yeah,
you know what?
Along with Toad.
Toad's here, and Toad has a harmonica. While this is all happening, Daisy gets fucking locked up with Daniela. And is through. I thought this woman, by the way, Lena. I thought she was Gillian Anderson from the X-Files. For a second, I thought that was Gillian Anderson.
No, she is Fiona Shaw from Andor. She's Marva.
That's where I know her fucking face from.
Right. She's Andor's mom, which is a wild thing to be like, man, I'm glad, Fiona Shaw, obviously, right, she's been in plenty of roles, right? The being in the Mario Brothers movie was not the end of her career, nor the start of it, but like, no, probably the most famous is that she was the Aunt Petunia Dursley in Harry Potter, but like, she's got a long and storied career, but it is just very funny to be like, oh, one of the most prominent TV shows of 2023 or 2022, I suppose, was Andor, and now it's like, oh, by the way, she was also in this like catastrophic movie back in '93.
And you know
good
what?
For Fiona.
Another fucking flowers to Super Mario Brothers 1993. Everybody put their pussy into their performances.
Right, like even though like Bob Hoskins and Leguizamo would later like just talk about how terrible being on this set was. They do give it 100%. I don't think anyone's really phoning it in. I'm not a very good judge of what is good acting, but like, I think really everybody is trying their hardest to make this work.
Yeah, and for me, it absolutely did. So while this is all happening, Daisy and Daniela are they're getting repeatedly. Basically, they're finding out that Daisy has been separated from her necklace, which is a problem because President Koopa needs it because it's going to complete the meteorite that hit and split the two dimensions. And by piecing the meteorite back together, they're going to reunite the dimensions. And you get the backstory of like Daisy's mom gave her the meteorite and took her to the human dimension when she was a little baby. And Daisy finds out that her dad is alive? ? At this point, and also that she's a princess. It's a lot to take in, and I think she takes it quite boldly. No,
I mean, considering all the wild shit that happens, she takes it in stride. She has a good time. It's pretty weird. When they do introduce, President Koopa, like what? I don't know if it's just because we live in the post-Donald Trump presidency, but he was giving me a little bit like Donald Trump energy, and I don't know if that's intentional or not, but like he just seemed like a little bit like he is very like, you know, afraid of germs, and has like a specific hairstyle, and it is kind of a douchebag.
Yeah, I think of all the characteristics I would assign to Donald Trump, afraid of germs is probably kind of lower on the list.
Sure, but I'm just saying.
I see where you get that, but I didn't pick up on it. He just kind of read as, you know, asshole cartoon dictator to me. Which Donald Trump is an asshole cartoon dictator, so I guess, you know, the more I think about it, the more I come around to the comparison. But Luigi, Mario, and again, Toad, who are in prison, they get their mushroom-assigned lawyer. And their mushroom-assigned lawyer, I believe, is President Koopa, just straight up, right?
Yeah, he's just pretending to be the lawyer.
Yeah.
It's the fact that, like, you know, 65 million years have gone by, and, like, the societies of humanity and the dinosaurs have evolved pretty similarly, where to the point where, like, you get a court-assigned lawyer in both worlds is very funny to me.
I found that, honestly, hilarious. The inevitability of Brooklyn... the international implications of that are just so funny to me.
Right. And I just watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I'm just thinking about the converging timelines. Like in every universe, there is always Brooklyn.
What a great movie.
That was a good movie.
I'm so glad you watched it. Yeah. So President Koopa reveals himself once Mario and Luigi reveal that they don't have the fucking necklace. And he puts Toad through the main kind of evil death beam of this universe, which is the de-evolution ray. Mm-hmm. And he turns Toad into...
He becomes a Goomba,
He becomes a Goomba, yeah. It's...
But not a mushroom Goomba. It's sort of like a reptile... headed guy who's really big and strong.
Yeah, and he does say "see you later, alligator" when he does it, which I thought was very funny.
It's completely fine.
I love the pithy little one-liners. So we get our first car chase here, where Mario and Luigi climb into, I believe, like another van, and then they run off into the desert. And Iggy and Spike lose them, and they go back to President Koopa, and they said, "Boss, we lost him." And President Koopa's like, "Then why the fuck are you here? You should be in the desert chasing them." And then he literally changes their brain chemistry. He makes them smarter. And
does he make them smarter? Or does he make their vocabulary different? Because they're still a bunch of idiots.
They are stupid, but they do know bigger words now.
Right.
And this is maybe one of my favorite performances in cinema of all time, because they commit to their diction changing with such gusto.
It's pretty good. Honestly, like they start out like kind of like dummy little thugs, and then they become like, you know, like they're like doing, you know, high English, like Shakespeare-y conversations, and you know, they act like a bunch of nerds, and it's pretty good.
It's excellent. I love this so much. So anyway, they're like, well, shall we go after them in the desert or stay here and configure our own plans? And it's just really good. Mm-hmm. So the bulk of this kind of like next chunk of the movie is a lot of just like chasing. It's a lot of people going after one another. And the important bit is when Mario and Luigi, they finally make headway to like go rescue Daisy from President Koopa. Which, by the way, Daisy at this point has befriended Yoshi, who is a dinosaur, just straight up. He's a little baby T-Rex.
So, fun fact about Yoshi. I noted in my notes that this movie came out at the same year as the critically acclaimed Crichton adaptation Jurassic Park.
Another movie we've covered on this program, if you're curious.
Yes. So apparently, the designers of this movie were aware that Jurassic Park was being produced. So he kind of wanted to make these dinosaurs a little bit more cute. But apparently, the Yoshi puppet was built, and apparently that puppet cost $500,000 to make, closer to $1 million in our current currency. But apparently, producers from the Jurassic Park film visited the set and were so impressed with the Yoshi puppet, they wanted to hire some of the people from this movie into Jurassic Park 2, because it was so good. And to be fair, Yoshi looked great.
Pretty good fucking puppet.
Honestly.
And us, we love practicals. We've said it before, we'll say it again.
There were a lot of fucking practicals in this movie, and they largely all worked.
Yes. And you know what? I bet this was kind of a nightmare set to be on, but by God, the result was a well-loved, bizarre, incredible piece of filmmaking. I'm gonna make other people watch it with me. It's really good. Anyway, a lot of back and forth happens. Daisy, they have to go rescue Daisy. Daisy almost gets assassinated by Lena, who is, I believe, just like straight up jealous of the fact that Koopa's not paying attention to her. Is that what's happening? Yeah,
her motivation's unclear. It seems like that's the case.
Yeah, so she goes to Murgle Daisy, but Yoshi steps in and fucks her up, which I thought was very cute. Because Daisy, princess, she's supposed to be kind of a Disney princess. She's nice to all the creatures and stuff. So she finally busts out, and then there's more back and forth as Mario and Luigi kind of like chase her down within this compound. And this is around when the whole Daniela thing happens, because when Mario wanted to take her to WrestleMania,
right,
and it finds out that she's actually in the compound. And this is also where we find out that Daisy's dad is alive. Daisy's dad is mushrooms.
Yeah, how they can de-evolve people? Well, Koopa de-evolved King Bowser into fungus, and as a result, we see a lot of fungus growing and choking the city. It's making the air very foul, but also it's climbing up the buildings, and it's clear that somebody is like this. This is why Koopa eventually wants to leave and burst into the the human realm, because the fungus is destroying everything down here. But if you look back, you can see that the fungus has been helping them, right? When their car falls off of a cliff, the fungus protects them. It starts giving them bombs, like bombs, but it hands them weapons and stuff. But yeah, it makes sense, and I'm glad that the film did set up the fact that, the fungus has been conscious and helping them the whole time.
Once they're reunited, they figure out they have to go get the fucking, this is before, but Big Bertha comes in, I skipped a bit, which is that, Iggy and Spike and Mario and Luigi realize they can work together. Mario and Luigi want Daisy back, Iggy and Spike want the necklace, so they have to go to the bar and get the necklace from Big Bertha, which happens by Mario essentially seducing her.
It was surprisingly sexual and sensual. I thought it was pretty sexy. He first she just punches him in the face, but then he's like, hit me again, and she's like, I'll hit you all you want if you dance with me, and they have a very sexy dance, and I was like, I'm into this. This is good for me.
And you know what? Bertha is a black actress, and she was large, and they only made one descriptive comment about her body, and it was just factually descriptive. It wasn't insulting.
For being made in the 90s, that could have been so much worse. So respect to that.
So much worse. And there was a little bit of, casual homophobia, but we can't have a movie in the 90s without a little bit of casual homophobia.
Listen. Was the 90s more homophobic than the 2000s, culturally speaking, do you think? Just based in your memory.
Oh, my memory? That's very interesting.
Right.
Based on my memory, I don't know, but I feel like maybe the 90s was slightly more homophobic because you're just coming off of the AIDS crisis.
Right. That is what I suspect, too. But just all the media that I was exposed to when I was younger all seemed very homophobic in retrospect. So, I don't know. Maybe that's just recency bias.
Yeah, who's to say? I unfortunately, I'm not as well-versed as I could be. But what I am an expert on is shows that can only function on heterosexual energy, like Love is Blind. That's where I come in. If you want to talk about the gender politics of Love is Blind, please mortifiedpod@gmail.com.
Right.
So
They do play. I want to talk about the fact that they played "Everybody Walk the Dinosaur" at the club.
and it was the perfect choice, and I'm so glad they did that.
I think it was a fun and good choice, but it is a little bit like, if they play that song about how there's a song, I don't know, maybe like 10, 15 years ago that was like, you and me, baby, we're all just mammals, so let's do it like they do it on the Discovery Channel. You've heard of that, right? Okay.
I love that song, yeah. Absolutely.
It's a good song, right? But I was like, okay, it's a little much, right? Both of those songs are a little on par with like, yes, remember what we are? We're this type of species in the animal kingdom. This is how we fuck.
God, is that a 303 song? That gives me 303
It feels
energy.
like a 303 song. I'm going to look that up.
Yeah. Yeah, 303 did give us the iconic "and I'm a vegetarian and I ain't fucking scared of him," so...
It's Bloodhound Gang, unfortunately, but yeah.
All right, well, Bloodhound Gang, you have 303 energy. I'm sorry. I'm diagnosing you 303 era. So... we do find out from President Kupo that he does not at all intend to trade the rock for Daisy. He intends to kill the plumbers. But this is around where we start getting kind of a superhero turn on Mario and Luigi. They get their iconic outfits, which honestly I think they look great. It's just fucking
they're good.
And we get into this like extended boss fight basically. As they enter the Koopa compound. I can't call it a castle. It's a compound. It's something.
It's closer to a weird skyscraper.
Yeah, it's even more Donald Trump energy there, I guess. And so they start fighting. Eventually, they somehow get teleported to Brooklyn. Koopa de-evolves Scapelli into a monkey, and Mario and Luigi save the day. Luigi has to leave Daisy behind because Daisy wants to find out who she is and bond with her mushroom dad, who gets de-mushroomed at the end of the film. Gets re-evolved back into the king. And Brooklyn takes it all incredibly in stride that there is a different dimension and these two rando plumbers saved everybody. And then Mario, Luigi, and Daniela, go back to their life. And at the end, Daisy busts back in with a fucking gun and she's like, I need your help. And they're like, what's wrong? She goes, you wouldn't believe. And then Mario goes, I do believe. And that's a character arc.
Yeah, no, really. That's storytelling, baby.
That's the movie. I think off the dome that was pretty decent.
That was pretty impressive. I'm surprised we were able to maintain that many details. See, the thing about that I didn't like about this movie is that all the like action sequences in the latter half of the film, I think are just so long and they really make the movie drag. And I wish that they had gone to the final fight way sooner.
Yeah, I'll give it that. Like I think they could have clipped 20% of the last hour, and made it a tight 90 minutes. But that being said, if they added a few more plot points, I would have watched more of it. Like, it is just so campy and weird and fun, and it's like Final Fantasy X2, where it's not. Final Fantasy X2 is not a Final Fantasy X sequel. It is a Final Fantasy X flavored arcade.
Right.
And this is like Super Mario Brothers parentheses 1993 is not a Super Mario Brothers movie. It is a Super Mario Brothers flavored just something.
Stage play.
Yeah. It's not like it pays homage to the source material, but it's not an adaptation of the source material.
Yeah, that's I think that's fair. Ultimately, right, I wouldn't watch this movie for fun just because I do think it is too long, but like I think I can respect the things that you find, amusing about it, right? There is some really fun lines and dialogue, and you're right, it is very campy in that way.
I laughed out loud like 7 times, and not like a belly laugh. Like, it got me. Honestly, I think you and I, if we watched this like together, we would have had a good time.
Yeah, I think that's true, right? Because ultimately, another thing that distracted me was I hacked my 3DS this week, and I have just been trying to make my way through Kingdom Hearts Recoded, which I started playing halfway through this movie because I was like, I'm kind of bored of this, and that did probably distract me a little bit. But
I was rewiring my desk, which when I had something to do with my hands, I'm focused. The only thing I'm mad about is that I couldn't take detailed notes on this whole thing because the whole time I was losing my mind. When I say this is one of my new favorite movies. I am obsessed.
Listen, that means the method is working, right?
Method is working.
Sometimes, the show, which is at this point, 3 total years, but 4 years running. Right. We recorded the first episode of Mortified nearly 3 years ago in 2020.
Oh my God. Yeah. We're almost at our 3rd birthday.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So the initial premise of this show is we recommend films and media to each other, and then see which one of us why one of us likes it and why the other what the other thought of it, and that's sort of fallen away as we've gotten through. Okay, here's kind of stuff we wanted to share with each other. Now we know each other pretty well, and now we're just kind of doing stuff that we each think will be fun to talk about. But I think it does speak to the fact that the core premise of this podcast still kind of works, right? We talk about stuff that we hope that the other will enjoy, but oftentimes, this is one of the rare times where it's oh, this doesn't really hit for me, but it hits for you, and that's kind of where some of our best episodes come from, is dissecting what does and doesn't work, and it's kind of, it's just kind of nice to be able to look at how far we've come in Mortified, to be able to be okay, let's find the things that we do like about this, pick them apart, and examine our own thoughts and feelings about it. So. I'm pretty happy with the fact that, I'm truly glad that you liked this, because I'm glad, whenever we like something, it is better than not liking something.
Yeah, honestly, and I think I would like to try next time we come across one of these quote unquote reportedly terrible movies, these kind of maligned films that found some sort of cult following 20 or 30 years later. I think we should try watching them together, because it is just I think if you had made me watch The Joker by myself, I would have turned into the fucking Joker and shown up at your house. Oh, yeah, no, I think watching The Joker by ourselves would have been miserable. I think it would have sucked ass, right? But I think you're right. There is some level of okay, we know this is going to be bad. Same with Avatar, right? That's something film we had to watch together, because I could not have sat through 3 hours of Avatar 2 without you and my partner there. No, I think me and you and your wife, really, the only way we made that through was the three of us and Auntie Anne.
Yeah, just God, struggling through. Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad that we're getting to a point where we can kind of look at media and be all right, that there are ways in which this works, and obviously, right, the viewing of the media, the context in which you absorb it, right, does affect how you feel about it. But I think, right, 30 years later, they could have done a whole lot worse than this. I feel bad that everybody had a difficult time, being on the shoot. But I don't think it deserves to have the reputation that it does. No, because you know what it isn't, and what movie we should watch is live action Dragon Ball Z. Oh, here's the thing. I think that'll be a fun bad movie to watch, because I do think there's some I think that one I have actually also. This was around the same time that I was watching with just a bunch of bad live action stuff with my roommate, I suppose. But yeah, I've watched that. I think that's a good one. I think we'll put that on the list, because yes, I think we will have a good time, especially if we watch it together. I think we'll be oh, this is a great movie, actually. Yeah, I think if me, you, and a couple of beers, and we'll just go nuts. Yep. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So if you don't have a marketing minute, I do have one. Okay. Yes, please. So if you were to give this kind of gritty, bonkers parallel universe treatment to any classic game that doesn't have much of a plot normally, what do you think you'd go for? I'd go Frogger. Yes, I'd go Frogger Naruto crossover. Okay, let me make sure that this is the right one that I'm thinking of. Yes. Okay, we're going to watch this together. This is a YouTube video that came out 12 years ago. It's called Pokemon Apokelypse, live action trailer. I'm going to share this, and we're going to we'll drop this in the show notes, but I'm going to share my screen. We're gonna watch this together.
Okay, we'll be back after this fucking video, I guess.
Yes. Okay. Man, that trailer, I hadn't watched that trailer in 12 years. That was a little bit more intense than I remembered, but that's my answer.
Okay, so what we just watched was a gritty live action with just shocking production value, I think, trailer for like, what if Ash Ketchum and Pikachu were in some like underground Pokemon fighting ring? And it was basically like a gritty mafia. There were guns. There were so many guns.
Give Team Rocket more guns, is what I'm saying.
Give me Alpha like a semi-automatic. What are we doing?
Yes, so that's Pokemon Apokelypse. You can find that on the Mega Steak Man YouTube channel. But I remember seeing this in like 2010. This was back when Dorkly, which was I think a College Humor like spin-off website I used to read a lot. That was like my first games news website. But I remember reading that on that website and watching this and being like, whoa, this is cool. And that has just been in the back of my brain. You know, obviously Detective Pikachu came out and had like some of that, but not quite the intensity. And so my answer to your question is I would just, you know, make that movie, because I think we need the grittiest possible Pokemon imaginable.
Okay, awesome.
You've seen those, like, there's this one game going around that's just like Pokemon, but they just have guns, right? Have you heard of this?
Fucking what?
Oh my god, I'm gonna drop another fucking trailer. Oh my Christ, Leyla. This is Palworld gameplay moments trailer 22.5 from Pocket Pair. I'm gonna show this to Leyla. Man, I am just showing you the most cursed Pokemon content today, huh?
Yeah.
This is Palworld.
Why are there guns?
It is literally, truly just a Pokemon game with guns. Oh, that has a minigun. Excellent. Great. That is Palworld, which I believe has been released. It may be in early access, but...
Why does it have guns?
That's a real game you can play now.
Okay. Fascinating. Well...
Sure is something.
I don't know if you caught what I said at the beginning, but I would do a Frogger x Naruto crossover. Because there is in Naruto the frog dimension.
There is the frog dimension. Okay.
So I think that a great run, like a movie or like a great run of filler you could do is just the grittiest noir of trying to get some sort of frog from the frog dimension across the Frog Road, I suppose.
Across the road, yes. And it's very much like Gamabunta is like, you know, bequeathing a young frog his sword, and like they have to like split cars in half and shit. Yeah, no, that would be great. That would... See, the thing about Naruto filler is that it's notoriously bad, but it could fucking own.
It could fucking own if they'd let me do it.
Right. God. They should just let us do any non-canon content. It would be great.
Yeah, because, you know... I'm in my listen of Naruto Reviewto, we're in the boat filler now, and It was so wild that the hosts of that podcast just started talking about MILF Manor for 20 minutes, which, like, listen, you and I have talked about some dog shit programming in our time. I don't think we've ever diverted to MILF Manor for 20 minutes.
There's the unreleased Akira episode where we're just like, how was your week? But like, we didn't put that on the feed.
We did record that Akira episode, and then we just couldn't get through it, which was very funny. We've never given up mid-recording like that before.
That was also, again, right when COVID was happening. It was like May of 2020. We were just exhausted.
That's true. We were so... Maybe someday we'll take... Maybe when we start our Patreon, we'll take it again. That'll be our Patreon. If anybody sends us $20, you can pay us to watch them.
Yeah, no, we'll take that, absolutely.
Great.
Leyla, when we are not, you know, looking up the most cursed Pokemon content in the world, where where can we be found online?
You can find me at LEYLSES on Twitter and Tumblr. Just doing stuff. I don't know. I have nothing thrilling to plug. Go watch Aaron's videos. They're more fun at aavoid.com.
Thank you. I do YouTube video essays about tabletop games. I also do another podcast that's at The Bible Boys, where me and my friends Michael and Josh talk about Christian media. Our 100th episode we're recording this week. We're covering the God's Not Dead first movie again, and kind of going to do a retrospective on how our very first podcast episode, aged and how we feel about that first piece of media. And I re-listened to that first episode. I gotta say, I think we kind of nailed it on the first one. I don't know how this next one's gonna go, but I did catch some extra themes. God's Not Dead is the film franchise that keeps on giving. It is so rich with themes. It is also maybe the most racist movie I've ever seen. It's a good time. So if that interests you, check that out.
That's fascinating. Most racist movie I've ever seen in the context of the show where we talked about James Cameron's Avatars 1 and 2.
Yeah. Yes, that's the thing. The thing about the James Cameron's Avatar is that the Na'vi are technically not real people, even though they stand in for real people. But God's Not Dead absolutely does stand in for real people, and it's bad. Our theme song is Obsolete by Keshko from the album Filmmakers Reference Kit Volume 2. You can find more of their music at keshko.bandcamp.com. Leyla, how do we end this episode?
Trust the fungus.
Amen. We'll see you all next week.